Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40k Universe. I am your host, Gershwin, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we continue talking about the Imperial Guard as we talk about the Master of Ordnance, the guy who calls in the artillery. If you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40k content every single day, usually twice a day. And if you have any suggestions for topics that you guys would like us to create a video for, please comment down below. With that said, let's get into 40 facts on the Masters of Ordnance. A Master of Ordnance is the specialist within many Imperial Guard regiments who is responsible for calling in timely and accurate artillery fire to support the actions of his unit and any other further down the chain of command. While almost every world in the Imperium of Man is required to render its tithes of men and material to fuel the ceaseless wars of the Imperium, the skills and qualities of the human component of the tithing process varies enormously. A ferocious warrior from a feral world might have spent his life mastering survival in a hostile environment, while a hive-worlder is likely to be schooled in the operations of numerous types of manufacturing machinery. For both, their knowledge is in a large part intuitive and obvious by adulthood, and so it can be difficult to relate new skills in these terms. However, the human mind has an incredible elasticity to it, and individuals who can be convinced to learn can develop new knowledge later in life. The position of Master of Ordnance requires mental acuity of sorts, if not always raw power, and a strong situational awareness. It also requires the ability to learn, as few regiments train the troopers of the line in the techniques and rituals incumbent in this position. A few regiments do maintain their own regimental programs and practices to train their artillery experts. A number of these are specialized regiments, those whose primary role is to provide artillery support for other units in the field. For those regiments where the use of artillery weapon is common, the troopers are taught to calculate the landing points of high-impact shells alongside proper maintenance and the use of their lasguns. Though most such regiments do not teach their troopers of the line to truly understand the mechanics behind firing their indirect weapons, some troopers nonetheless grow to excel through raw practice and innate special awareness, becoming incredibly accurate and deadly with their artillery weapons. There are certain other regiments, especially those that draw a large portion of their troops from worlds where primary education is raw survival, and other concerns are secondary, that subject promising troopers to extensive and often highly evasive processes designed to implant the necessary skills for calculating artillery trajectories directly into the minds of their recipients. This process is most often carried out soon after the regiment is tithed into the Imperial Guard. Some of these troopers are volunteers who wish to better serve their commanders and God Emperor by enhancing their skills with their indirect fire weapons. Others undergo the process less by their own volition and more by the order of their regimental commander. Sometimes the troopers rejoin his fellows with no knowledge of what happened while he was unconscious, while in others the troopers recalls every procedure in painful detail and has extensive scarring or obvious bionic augmentation to show for it. Either way, the individual is granted the skills and knowledge needed to order complex firing support missions from Allied artillery units, Imperial Navy orbital units, or other similar formations. An Imperial Guardsman, designated as a Master of Ordnance, might serve at almost any level of the regiment's chain of command. The most experienced often serve in the command squad of company captains or higher, but the less senior are simply line troopers with additional training and responsibilities. These guardsmen are first and foremost specialists serving in the infantry squads of their regiments, but their presence is an enormous force modifier that allows the unit to call upon a formidable weight of firepower. The Master of Ordnance has a staggering degree of destruction at his beck and call, allowing him to call down heavy ordnance on an enemy position should his unit become pinned down or engaged by unexpectedly effective resistance. There are limitations imposed upon the trooper's ability, however, for if there was not, he might be tempted to order fire missions when faced with even the slightest challenge. The first restriction is one of comparative rank. Though he has the authority to order fire support, the type and frequency varies according to the specifics of his own appointment and authentication ciphers it grants him. Squad or platoon level Masters of Ordnance can call in far less destructive and numerous fire missions than those that serve at the level of a company or regiment. Furthermore, a Master of Ordnance who abuses his authority is very likely to lose it, for the commander of the artillery regiment he is ordering fire from do not hesitate to protest to his commanding colonel. As oficios as the Departamento Militarum's shell counters are, the enemy is far more of a threat to the continued existence of the average Master of Ordnance. Depending on the nature of the enemy, the Master of Ordnance is often very high on the list of targets, and therefore in great danger than most of his comrades. It is often said that the Master of Ordnance has an average life expectancy of less than 30 minutes once battle commences, and so many line troopers regard them as tokens of bad luck. Though said in jest, there is something of a truth in this assertion, for a canny enemy, especially a human one, that shares many of the Imperial Guard's battle doctrines, is likely to be able to identify the Master of Ordnance and make every effort to kill him. Most xenofoes are incapable of telling one human from another, and so make no special effort to single out the Master of Ordnance. Rebels, heretics, separatists, and most other human enemies the Imperial Guard are likely to face are a different story, as are the more advanced xenofoes such as Eldar. Because the role of Master of Ordnance is relatively formalized above the regimental level by the Departamento Militarum, there tends to be little in the way of variation in how different regiments actually utilize their capabilities. The procedures used to call in artillery fire support are by necessity standardized, and so little variation is possible. That said, the way different regiments train their Master of Ordnance can differ, as can attitude toward these specialists. The Death Corps regiments of Krieg have on occasion been seen to demonstrate a particularly fatalistic attitude towards the procedures of calling in artillery fire support. The Death Corps places very little value on the life or well-being of any individual trooper, and this extends to the manner in which their Master of Ordnance calls in fire support. Most Masters of Ordnance ensure their comrades are well clear of the area to be targeted, unless the destruction of the specific enemy is demonstrably more important than the lives of their friends. The Death Corps pays scant heed to the safety of their own troops, calling in overwhelming destructive fire missions at the expense of their comrades' lives. The Death Corps regards this as due penance, and time after time have been seen to march stoically onto a battlefield churning with explosions. Certain regiments of the Catachan Jungle Fighters are noted for their occasional antagonistic relationship with nearby artillery support regiments. Their frequent role as forward elements during combined arm operations means that the Catachans are often in the line of Allied bombardment, as was the case for the Catachan 223rd on Iris in the Spinward Front, when the order to bombard the jungle they were infiltrating came in with little warning. This is largely because the Catachan commonly operate in dense jungle terrain, where visibility is poor and where fire support missions must be called in with incredible accurate detail. The jungle fighters trust few outsiders or higher-ups to call in fire supports for them, and so prefer to do this themselves. Unlike the selfless and self-sacrificing Death Corps, the Catachans believe that the Emperor is usually best served by their continued survival, and thus prefer it to be their immediate comrade who are calling down hundreds of pounds of high explosives within such close range, rather than faraway officers uninterested in the collateral damage. Many regiments of the Elysian drop troops make extensive use of large-scale fire support, in their particular case often delivered by the warships of the Imperial Navy. This is because the Elysians specialize in planetfall missions, and it is rare for there to be any unit already on the ground capable of providing the overwhelming firepower needed to soften up the enemy ahead of a mass drop. In addition, the Elysian regiments rarely carry any type of heavy weapon nor field any vehicle larger than a sentinel, and must therefore rely on external formations to provide any heavy support. Needless to say, the drop troopers have become masters of intrinsically pre-planned artillery strikes designed to reduce enemy positions to rubble, and most importantly, force him to keep his head down while the drop troops are engaged in the part of their attack where they are most vulnerable, the drop itself. Cadian shock trooper regiments make extensive use of Masters of Ordnance. So militarized is the fortress world of Cadia, and so dedicated to all forms of warfare are its regiments, that almost every type of unit possible is represented amongst its forces. There exists an almost unique relationship between the different Cadian regiments, the officers of many regiments having trained together or served together in the Cadian Youth Army before being typed into the Imperial Guard. Because there are so many Cadian regiments in Imperial service, it is not unusual for entire armies to be made up of units from the same world, and for there to exist especially close relationships between commanders. These ties simplify the process of mutual support enormously, making Cadian forces far more effective than their sum of their parts. And those were 40 facts on a Master of Ordnance. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to learn more about the Imperial Guard, please click on the link down in the description below. That'll take you to the wiki page where we got this awesome information from. So go over there, jump on over there and support them. If you like these types of videos where we talk about the Imperial Guard and actually break down the different components of the Imperial Guard, let me know down in the comment section below, and of course share this with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, or whatever social media you guys use. I feel like there's less and less Imperial Guard players, and that's because the Imperial Guard army itself is not, I guess it's not the best army to collect. It gets kind of expensive once you start, factoring in the tanks, all the tanks that you need to purchase for that army in order to make it playable. But again, tell me what you guys think. If you guys like our videos and you want to support us, jump on over to Patreon. A simple $1 a month helps us create more videos. If you can't support us on Patreon, we understand. Simply by liking, commenting, and sharing. It really helps out the channel. The giveaway is still going on. I think maybe a day or two left. So jump on over to the videos linked down at the end of this video, and you'll have a chance, or a greater chance, to win those awesome Primaris prizes. With that said, this was Gershwin with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.